From Whitmer to Notre Dame Academy, Travis Galloway didn't start out in girls basketball, but he's there now, coaching one of the most elite programs in the state. And with being elite comes Division I college coaches from just about everywhere. Here is part 2 of No Days Off.
You said you get asked why basketball instead of football. Let me turn that another way.
Right.
Why girls basketball?
Well, I originally started in boys basketball. I was a freshman boys coach at Whitmer High School before I came over to Notre Dame. And I came over with Rep Boyd, obviously a colleague of your guys'. And when we got here, neither one of us had ever coached girls basketball. And right away I found myself coaching basketball. I didn't find it as coaching girls or coaching boys. Now there's different problems or different issues that occur in both genders, but I found myself just being a basketball coach, and that's what I really liked. And then as I became more used to it and more involved in it, I really realized that girls really will sell out for you. The egos aren't nearly as big, and that's something that I really enjoyed because of the fact of they get, obviously everybody talks about girl drama and stuff. There's boys drama too, and but when you have a team and a group of girls come together that will sell out for each other, that makes for a great experience for a coach. And I've been very fortunate to have a lot of teams here that's done that.
You mentioned you started off at Whitmer. You have a background with Washington local schools. Now you're full-time with Notre Dame. Is there a big difference between a private school and a public school?
Yeah, the setting's different, obviously, and everything. They're both schools and bring a lot of different things for a lot of different kids. And when you're choosing your high school or you're choosing what to do with your life, it's all about where you fit in at and what's your comfort level and stuff. So I think there's a lot of benefits to both settings and both environments. I've been very fortunate enough to have a chance to work at Washington local schools and at Whitmer and met a lot of very, very good people who do a great job. And then I came over to Notre Dame a couple of years ago on a full-time basis, and I realized here what students go through on a daily basis and the grind and the challenges as they occur every day. So I've been very fortunate in that aspect to have it kind of understand both realms a little bit.
You mentioned students choosing paths in life. As a basketball coach, as a successful basketball coach, you've helped a lot of girls make a choice in terms of college basketball. I think an interesting dynamic is with a coach and a player, that relationship does not end when she leaves your program. She goes off to college, you're still involved in her life and involved in her game.
Yeah, absolutely. Having a good rapport with college coaches is very important, and it's really neat is when you have a player go off to a college and then you get a phone call from one of their assistants and say they've been named the team captain, or hey, we're starting to look at one of your other players and all that kind of stuff. You kind of reconnect a little bit for the ones that maybe went off to a college from a little further away from here, and have that opportunity to talk to college coaches has been tremendous. It's been very helpful for me to kind of understand what they look for and what they want out of their individual programs, and it's also a way for me to kind of talk to the college coaches, especially when they're dealing with like a freshman from our school or maybe a sophomore that haven't been around them as much, of kind of what makes that player tick a little bit more. So sharing that information is very important for the success of that athlete.
And I suppose you almost have to work with those college coaches because your player's going to maybe ask you for advice, but you don't want to step on the toes of that college coach, and you have to understand what that college coach is envisioning the role of that player and maybe help that player understand that role.
Yeah, absolutely. when obviously everything is not always roses for college athletes or for high school athletes for that standpoint. And so when there are challenges and players reach out to you and they're trying to maneuver away through the challenges, one thing I always try to take a step back and try to think, okay, if I was that college coach, or if I was that other coach involved, is how would I feel about the conversation I'm about to have? So if a player is asking for advice about different things, I always try to keep in mind what that college coach might want them to hear. And a lot of it has to do with communication. Coaches want to communicate. They want to know what's going on with players, what their issue is, or what's going on with their, if it's a personal thing. Because they want to help them. That's why most coaches get involved in coaching, to be around young kids and help them. So I think that is a big deal. Just so having that rapport with colleges will allow that to happen, and then it keeps me mindful of what they might want to hear.